The strangest thing about the internet is this. Sometimes something completely made up begins to behave like it's real, if enough people look at it. First, a photo appears in front of you. In the background there are children. Among the trees stands a tall, thin figure whose face cannot be seen. Then someone writes a description underneath it. Then someone else expands that description a little more. Someone else adds a new story. Someone else says, "I saw it too." After a while, what remains is no longer just an image. There is a character, there is a myth, there is a fear. And in the age of the internet, the most dangerous side of fear is exactly this. No one creates it alone. Everyone adds a little, everyone enlarges it a little. In the end, what emerges no longer has an owner. Slenderman was born exactly like this. Today we know Slenderman as a horror character, a thin, suited, faceless figure with long arms, an internet monster that appears among trees, chases children in particular, disturbs minds, and draws people toward itself. But the real story of this character matters not because it is frightening, but because it shows how the internet can grow something. Because Slenderman was not born in a studio. It did not come from a writer's desk. It was not the product of a novel or a big-budget film. It was a figure produced by the internet with its own hands, and then fed with its own fear. And perhaps that is why it became so powerful. Because it was not told by a single person. It was told by the internet. Everything began in 2009 on an internet forum. Users were asked to make old photographs frightening. The beginning of the story was actually very simple, even a little playful. A Photoshop contest. People were adding disturbing details into old black and white images, creating the feeling that a forgotten archive of horrors was appearing. In that contest, a user named Eric Knudsen shared 2 images. He placed a tall, faceless figure in a suit behind an ordinary photo of children. But the clever part was not the image itself. It was the explanation he added underneath. Missing children, uncertain events, photographers who disappeared, confiscated evidence. In other words, the small sense of fake reality built around the image. The photograph was no longer just an image, it was a file, a piece of evidence, a record from an unfinished event. People were captured exactly at this point. Because the human mind loves uncertainty more than fear. Or rather, it is affected by uncertainty more. Freddy Krueger is clear about what he is. Dracula's story is known. Jason's motivation is known. But in Slenderman nothing is complete. It has no face. It does not speak. Where it comes from is unknown. What it wants is uncertain. Even what it does to its victims is unclear. This uncertainty did not weaken the character. On the contrary, it made it enormous, because everyone filled the gaps with their own fear. Some saw it as a hunter of children. Some imagined a supernatural being. Some thought of it as a curse. Others imagined it as a shadow that simply destroys the mind. This was Slenderman's strongest side. Everyone completed it in their own way. In the age of the internet, there is hardly a better formula for a character to grow this much. Something that is not completely explained spreads faster, because it makes the user part of the creation. From that point on, Slenderman was no longer just a photo trick. It moved from forums to games, from games to YouTube videos, from YouTube to creepypasta website. People wrote new stories. They created new images. They said it was seen here. They said it appears in the background of this video. They said it exists in the hidden files of this game. In this way, Slenderman turned into an internet folklore rather than a classic fictional character. Just as ancient societies produced their own forest spirits, night creatures, and unseen shadow figures, the internet had produced the creature of its own age. The only difference was that this time the stories were told not around a campfire, but in the light of a screen. Creepypasta culture entered the stage exactly at this point. In fact, describing creepypasta simply as internet horror stories would be incomplete. because the issue was not only writing stories, it was packaging them as if they were real. Fake screenshots, edited photographs, images prepared like old newspaper clippings, missing person records, broken videotapes, cursed cartoon episodes, stories that began with, "No one remembers this," but the power of creepypasta was placing fear exactly on the line between reality and fiction. For an adult viewer, this may appear like a game, but for children, the situation is different, because the child's mind keeps the possibility that this could be true much more open, especially if the character appears everywhere they look, appears in game videos. YouTubers are afraid of it. People talk about it in the comments as if it is real. The wall between fiction and reality becomes thinner. And this was what made Slenderman truly dangerous. Yes, it was frightening. But the real issue was not that it was frightening. The real issue was that it had become widespread enough to appear real in the eyes of children. Imagine a character. It begins as a forum joke, then it becomes a game, then a video, then it spreads everywhere on the internet. At some point, it no longer matters who invented it first, because the character begins to live independently of its creator. And this moment is critical, because what the internet creates is no longer just content. It becomes a myth that begins to affect behavior. And then came the year 2014, Wisconsin. 3 girls, all 12 years old, all friends. What looked like an ordinary childhood photograph from the outside would turn into one of the most disturbing news stories in the world the next day. 2 girls took their closest friend into the forest. The excuse was simple: a game, hide and seek, one of the most ordinary invitations in the world for a child. Then that girl was stabbed 19 times. When the 2 children left the scene, they believed she was dead, but the victim survived miraculously. What made the event shocking was not only that a child had been stabbed. It appeared when the children explained why they did it. Their answer was very clear. Slenderman wanted us to do it. At this point, one inevitably pauses, because at some moment this stops being a horror character video. It becomes the story of how a fictional figure in the internet age could turn into an absolute reality in the mind of a child. Those 2 girls believed Slenderman was real. They believed they had to please him, otherwise he could harm them and their families. In other words, the issue was not only fear, it was obedience. Obedience to an internet figure. And this shows us something deeply disturbing. The human mind, especially the mind of a child, sometimes takes constantly repeated fictions not as fairy tales, but as structures. It can turn them into frameworks that explain the world. One of the darkest sides of this case is this: Slenderman did not enter those girls' lives all at once. That character had already gathered enough power on the internet. It was already living in YouTube, videos, games, story websites, horror lists, and fictions told as this could be real. So the attempted murder was not the fault of a single character by itself. It was the collision between a universe of fear, collectively inflated by the internet, and psychologically fragile child minds. That is exactly why this story is not just true crime. At the same time, it is the story of digital age folklore colliding with real life. This is where child psychology enters the picture, because adults often assume the following: a child understands that this is fiction. No, they do not always understand, especially if the child is psychologically fragile, prone to hallucinations, already struggling with their sense of reality, exposed to intense horror content, and has no adult intervention around them to balance it out. Internet stories stop being a game. They can turn into a belief system. There was a little of that at the core of what happened in Wisconsin as well. At least one of the girls was carrying serious psychiatric problems. But the event cannot be explained only through mental health, because here, there was also the way internet narratives were constructed as if they were real. The mutual feeding of fear between children, the group creating its own myth within itself, and fear turning into a test of loyalty. In other words, individual fragility digital culture, and childhood psychology all melted in the same pot. This is also one of the things that makes the Slenderman phenomenon truly interesting. It was not just a frightening character, it also showed the collective authorship power of the internet and, at the same time, its collective irresponsibility. Because everyone added a piece to the story, but no one took responsibility. Some made a photo, some developed a game mod, some posted comments saying I saw it, some made YouTube videos about it, some wrote theories on forums. Everyone contributed a little. Then what emerged was a myth that had grown, become stronger, and started stealing a share from reality. The dangerous side of internet culture is exactly here. No one takes something seriously on their own, but when thousands of people play the same game, the effect of that thing becomes something entirely different. Maybe that is why Slenderman became one of the most important horror figures of the digital age, because it did not merely look disturbing, it represented the way the internet works. It was uncertain. It had no owner, it spread everywhere, it was constantly reproduced. Everyone changed it a little, but no one could fully control it. In a way, what was frightening was not only Slenderman itself, but the way it spread. Because the figure was faceless, but that facelessness was also, in some sense, the internet itself. A decentralized, anonymous, shadowy structure that constantly multiplies and is hard to stop. That is why I think the real question of this video is not this: why is Slenderman scary? The real question is this: why is the internet so suitable for producing figures like this? The answer is hidden, partly in human nature, partly in media, and partly in childhood. Human beings love filling in gaps. They assign meaning to darkness. They enlarge uncertain figures. Childhood is already a period in which fears and imagination stand very close to one another, and the internet combines exactly these two things at infinite speed. So the urban legends once told around campfires are now multiplying through forums, videos, images, and game engines. That is why Slenderman is not just a character, it is the internet's own urban legend production machine. And I think we can close the video from a very strong place here. In the past, people used to scare children by saying, "The forest is unsafe." They would say, "Don't go alone at night." They would say, "There is something among the trees." Most of those fears were not real, but they served a function. They regulated behavior. Now, however, the forest is not the same forest. Fear is not the same fear either. Children now enter the internet before they enter the forest. And sometimes what they encounter in the forest is not a monster among the trees, but a story that came out of the screen and settled into their minds. And this is where Slenderman's real horror lies. It never truly existed, but it existed enough to change people's behavior. Maybe this is the most disturbing truth of the internet age. Something does not need to be real. If enough people believe it, if it spreads enough, if it is repeated enough, its consequences can become real. That is why the Slenderman file is not just a strange internet story that interests people who love horror. This is the breaking point where digital myths touch real life. And at that breaking point, sometimes a forum joke can become much bigger than a game.